So first, please subscribe our channel and like this video, press the bell icon and make sure to join our WhatsApp and Telegram.
Hello friends, welcome back to our channel Bang on Theory. So friends, in this video we are going to see some SQL interview questions with with explanation. So it is basically a part of our series that is on placement and preparation. So here we are giving some information and some related questions that are asked and that can be asked in interviews rounds, and basically on the role of database management administrator DBA, and in the profile of that are related to database management. So let's start the video. So watch the video completely and don't forget to share the video, and let's start. So what is the difference between SQL and MySQL? So that is the basic question that we can see, or we can say what is the difference between SQL and MySQL. So here are some key points that you can say. SQL is a standard language which stands for structured query language based on the English. Basically it is a query language that is written in English language, and on the other hand MySQL is a database management system. Now the point 2 is SQL is a core of the relational database which is used for accessing and managing database. Basically in that we are managing and accessing database. On the other hand MySQL is an RDMS, that is relational database management system, such as SQL Server, Informix, etc. many more. Like now this is also a basic question about the subsets of SQL, or we can say the languages that we are using in SQL. So here basically the major type of language are DDL, DML, DCL. So if we see DDL is a data definition language. It allows to create perform various operations on the database, such as create, alter and delete. Suppose you want to create a database and then you want to delete some objects, some entities and records in that database, how it can be performed. So this part comes in under DDL, that is data definition language. Now DML is a data manipulation language. It allows you to access and manipulate data. Suppose you created a table student, and inside the table you want to change the field of that particular table. So how you can modify that or manipulate that? So easily with the help of DML you can done this operation easily, and inside this we can perform insert, update, delete and retrieval of data from the database. Now the next one is DCL, that is data control language. In that it allow you to control access to the database. Example, grant, revoke and access permission. So basically suppose any kind of access that we want inside our database, that can be allowed by this data control language. Now what do you mean by DBMS? That is the basic question, because if we are coming from BTech and a technical background, so we have to be very much clear about this and the type of DBMS. So DBM is a structured collection of data. That we are saying that structured collection of data because in that we are having a data in the form of tables and lists. So a database management system is a software application that interact with the user application and the database itself to capture and analyze data. So basically in that we are capturing and analyzing data that we are storing inside that, and a DBMS allow user to interact with the database, and it provides a kind of interaction with the between the user and the database that created by the user, and the data stored in this database can be modified, retrieved and deleted. As we told you earlier that with the help of different languages we can perform all these tasks, and can be of any type like string, number, images. So in that we can store any kind of data, that is string, images, numbers. And if we see the type of DBMS, so majorly we have two type of database management system. First one is relational and second one is non-relational. So inside the relational database the data is stored in relations, that is tables. Example is MySQL. And on the other hand non-relational database, there is no concept of relation, tuple and attributes. So there is no concept of attributes, tuples and relations. So example of this is Mongo. Now what do you mean by table, field and SQL? So a table refer to a collection of data, as we can say, suppose we created a table name school. Inside that table we are providing the details of students, teachers and the faculties and the staff members. So with the help of this we can easily get the details and data about all the members. So a table refers to a collection of data that organize a manner in form, rows and columns. A field. So now we are talking about the field. So field refer to the number of column in a table. So inside a table there is a various number of fields. So if we see the example of table student information, then we can see the field are student ID is a field, student name and student marks. These three are the field that are inside the table, that is student information. Now the major question that we can see in our interview rounds and in our assessments as well. So what are the joins in SQL? This is the major one, so please watch. So a join clause is used to combine rows from two more tables. Suppose we created a two table, that is student 1 table and on the other hand student 2, and now we want to merge these two tables. How to retrieve data and to we want to merge these two tables, how it can be done? So there are the four joins that we can use. So namely inner join, right join, left join and full join. These are the joins that we can use to combine two tables and to retrieve data from there. Now what is the difference between char and Wherecat data type in SQL? So this is the basic about. So both char and Wherecat are used for character data type, but Wherecat 2 is used for character string of variable length. So Wherecat 2 is used for character string of variable type, whereas char is used for string of fixed length. So when we know about the length of the string, suppose the name of a person is a fix, so we can use char in that. And if we look for address, so address is not limited, we can provide inside that the details in detail length, so that is not fixed. So in here we can use Wherecat 2. So now if we see the example, so char 10 can be stored 10 character and will not able to store a string other than the length, whereas the Wherecat 2 10 can store any length, that is 682 in this variable. Now the concept of primary key. What is a primary key? That is the major question and the basic question as well. So what is a primary key? So primary key is a column or a set of columns that uniquely identify each row in a table. So it uniquely defines a single row in the table, and inside a table there is only one primary key. So in the above example we can see student ID, student name. So student ID is a primary key because every student can allotted a single unique identity, that is student ID. So here inside that table student ID is a primary key, because with the help of that we are accessing the entire data about the students. Now the constants are not null, check, default, unique, primary key and foreign key. These are the basic constants. Now difference between Drillit and Truncate. Drillit and Truncate both are quite bit relatable to each other, but the basic difference are Drillit command is used to delete a row in a table and Truncate is used to delete all the rows from the table. So it is used to delete a row, single row in a table, and that is used to delete all rows in a table. You can roll back data after using delete statement, but in Truncate we cannot roll back data. It is a DML command, that is data manipulation language, and it is a DDL command, data definition language. Now it is slower than Truncate statement and it is faster. So these are the basic difference between them. Now what is a unique key? So uniquely identify a single row in a table. It multiplies value allowed per table, null values allowed. Now what is a foreign key? So foreign key maintain we are talking about foreign key. So foreign key is kind of a reference key and it is a differential integrity by enforcing a link between two data. Suppose we want to merge two, we want to relate two data fields in different tables. How it can be done? So with the help of reference key we can done. Now what do you mean by data integrity? Data integrity defines the accuracy as well as the consistency. Suppose how we want to check the consistency in our data, so how it can be done? So with the help of data integrity we get to know that our data is consistent or not. So it also defines integrity constraint to enforce business rule that data when it is entered into an application or database. Now what is the difference between clustered and non-clustered index in SQL? So cluster index is used for easy retrieval of data from database, and it is faster, whereas reading from non-cluster index is relatively slower. So it is very much clear that that if our data is sequential or in a cluster index, then it is easy to access that data. On the other hand, if our data is not clustered with the index, so it is quite bit slower to retrieve that data. Now clustered index alter the way records are stored in a database, as it sort out the rows by the column, which is the said to be cluster index, whereas in a non-cluster index it does not alter the way it was stored, but it creates a separate object within a table which point back to the original table row after searching. So one table can only have one cluster index, whereas it can have many non-cluster index. This is the major difference between both. Now write a SQL query to display the current date. Suppose we want to display the current date, so how we can write that query? So simply we have to write get date here it is represented like this, so which help return the current time step. It will provide you the current time step and date. And now the different type of joins. So inner join is a join in MySQL is the most common type of join. It is used to return all the rows from multiple table where the join condition is satisfied. So in that, when the condition is satisfied, it return the all rows from multiple tables. On the other hand, left join is used to return all the row from the left table but only the matching row from the right table, where the join condition is fulfilled. Now right join, it is used to return all the rows from the right table but only the matching row from the left table. Now full join, return the all record when there is a match in any of the tables. So in any of the table we get match, then it will return the all records. Therefore it return all the row from the left hand side table and all rows from the right hand, both side. Now denormalization. What is denormalization? So denormalization refers to a technique which is used to access data from higher to lower form of a database. It helps the database manager to increase the performance of the entire infra and as introduce redundancy into a table. So it adds the redundant data into a table by incorporating database queries that combine data from various tables inside a single table. Now what are the entities and relationships? So entity is a person, place or a thing that can real world about which data can be stored in a database. So table store data that represent one type of entity. For example, a bank database has a customer table to store customer information. Customer table store this information as a set of attributes and for each customer. So in that, suppose we have a bank database, so in that there is an entity of customer, that are the customer of bank. So these are kind of entities. And now the relationship. So relation or link between entities that have something to do for which with other. For example, the customer name is related to other customer account number, or the customer name is related to address details and contact information, so which might be in the same table. So there can be a relationship between separate table. Suppose there is a table of customer 1 and on the other hand there is a table of the bank employee who gives the loan. So some entities are related to each other with the indirect way, so that are the denote relationship among the entities. What is an index? So An index refers to a performance tuning method allow faster retrieval of records. It is a kind of index that we have inside our books. So with the help of index we get easy access to the particular points and topics. So same here, it is provide the kind of faster retrieval of records. And now the question that we have is explain different type of index. So we have unique index, clustered and non-clustered. Inside that unique there is not allow the field to have a duplicate values, and inside cluster the index recorder the physical order of the table and searcher based on the basic key values. Here inside that we are assigned key values on the basis of cluster, like cluster 1 of key value this and cluster 2 key value this. So with the help of key values we are accessing data in that. And non-cluster index is a kind of in that it is a physical order of the table and maintain a logical order of the data. Each table can have many non-cluster index, as we told you earlier. Now the advantages and basic advantages of normalization are better database organization, more table with smaller rows, efficient data access, greater flexibility of queries, quickly find the information, easier to implement security, allow you to where we have allow easy modification, reduction of redundant and duplicate data, and more compact database, and ensure consistent data after modification. So these are the advantages of normalization that we have. Now what is the difference between drop and truncate commands? So it is also a kind of a question that we have to very much aware about. So what is the difference between drop and truncate command? Drop command is used to remove a table and it cannot be rolled back from the database, whereas truncate command removes all the rows from the table. Now explain different type of normalization. There are many successive level of normalization. These are called normal forms. Each successive normal form depend on the previous one. So there are basically three type of normalization. That is 1NF, that is first normal form, second NF, 2NF, and third normal form is 3NF. So first NF is no repeated groups within the rows, means inside that there is no repetition of groups or tables or entities or the field records. Now in the 2NF, every non-key column value is dependent on the whole primary key, or in these 3NF, dependent solely on the primary key and no other non-key supporting column value inside that. Now acid property, this is the important question that we have to face many times, so it is important. Now acid stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation and durability. It is used to ensure that the data transactions are processed reliably in a database system. So here acid, A for atomicity, C stands for consistency, I for isolation and D for durability. Now what do you mean by trigger in SQL? So trigger in SQL are the special type of store procedure. Trigger is a store procedure that is generated automatically when there is a modification and change in data, and it allow you to execute a batch of code when an insert, update or any other query is executed against a specific table. So suppose we have a table and inside that table there is a change like this, and trigger is a kind of a store procedure that generate automatically to inform the user about the changes that are done against the specific table. And now what are the different operators available in SQL? So basically in SQL we have arithmetic operators, logical operator and comparison operators. Now are null values same as that of 0 or blank? So a null value is not at all same that 0 or blank. Null value represent a value which is unavailable, unknown and assigned or not applicable, whereas a 0 is a number and blank space is a character. So here is the difference, 0 is a number and a blank space is a character. Now difference between cross join and natural join, this is the question that is important. So The cross join produce the cross product of Cartesian or Cartesian product of two tables. So here it is providing the cross product or Cartesian of two table. Here we have a table 1 2 and the cross product of both the table number 2. So here is that. So whereas the natural join is based on the all the column having the same name and the data type in both the table. Now list the way to get the count of record in a table. To count the number of record in a table, you can use the below command. So here is the query or the syntax we have for count records. So select star from table 1, select count asterisk from table 1, select rows from SYS indexes where ID is object ID and table is here table 1 and index ID greater than 2. Here is the condition. So it will provide you some output or the solution of to count the records of table. Now write a SQL query to find the name of employees that begin with A. So the answer or the query is select asterisk from table name where condition where employee name like A mod for find the number that is, the name that is start from A or begin from A we can find with this syntax. Now what is the need of group function in SQL? So group function work on the set of row and return one result so per group. So there are some group function are average, count, max, min, sum, variance. These are we can operate all these only on groups. That's why we are calling that group function. Now what is the relationship and what are they? So basically there are the various relationship: one to one relationship, one to many relationship, many to one relationship, self reference relationship. So one to one is like one entity is related to another entity. One to many means one entity is related to two different entities like entity 1 and entity 2. And many to one is many entity can relate to one entity, like students are different and they are related to the one relationship with teacher. So that is many to one relationship. Now how can you insert null value in a column while inserting the data? So null value can be inserted by the following ways: the implicit by omitting column from column list and by exploiting the specified null keyword in the values clause. Now the difference between an in condition operator. So between operator is used to display row based on a range of the values, whereas in condition operator is used when to check value contain a specific set of values. So we can say in example like that, like example of if your name lies in between roll number 1 to 20, so we are using between. Suppose you want to print like the my name is Ram and we have to find that name inside that table. So how? With the help of in that we can done. As we can see, in between 10 and 15 and roll number in 8, 15, 25. So in between both in these three we are finding that roll number. What are the SQL function? So SQL function are the following purpose: to perform some calculation on data, to modify individual data item, manipulate the output, perform format date and numbers, convert the data types. And now what is the need of merge statement? So the statement that allow conditional update or insert to data into a table. It performs an update if a row exists or insert if a row does not exist. What is the clause in SQL? So in SQL basically we have where and having clause. And now the difference in between both. So having clause can be used only with the select statement. It is usually used in a group by clause whenever group by is not used. Having behaves like a where clause. Having is just like behaving a having is behaves like just a where clause, and having clause is only used when with the group by function. So here is a condition that when we can use having. So having clause is only used with the group by function in a query, whereas where clause is applied to each row before they are a part of a group by function in a query. Now what are the various level of constraints? So there are two mainly column level constraint and table level constraints. Now the question, how you can fetch common record from table? So select student ID from table strong intersect strong close select student ID from exam. So this is the simple basic query you can use for selecting that particular problem, for solving that particular problem. What are the different set operators? So we have union, intersect or minus operator. Now alias commands is this is alias name can be referred as a where clause to identify a particular table or a column. So here inside that example we can see select employee.employee ID department dot result from employee department as department where employee.employee ID is equal to department dot employee ID. So in the above example, employee refer to alias name for employee table and department refers to alias name for department table. That is EMP is for employee table and DEPT for department table. What are the aggregate and scalar functions? So aggregate function are used to evaluate mathematical calculation, return a single value. On the other hand, scalar function return a single value based on the input value. So examples are ucase, now, and now the question is how can you fetch alternate record from a table? So simple query is that select student ID from select row number student ID from student where mod row number 2 is equal to 1. So that is the syntax. Now name the operator which is used to in the query for pattern matching. So pattern matching in that concept we are using modulus operator. It matches 0 or more character. Example is like select asterisk from students where student name like means name start from A. So it is performing such kind of a matching. And question is what is the main difference between SQL and PL/SQL? So SQL is a query language that allow you to issue a single query, execute a single insert update, whereas PL/SQL is a Oracle procedural language which allow you to write all of full program, loops, variable, etc. So basic difference is that it is a simple query language. SQL is a simple query language. On the other hand, PL/SQL is a procedural language that is dealing with the full programs like loops, variables, etc. Now what is the store procedure? So store procedure is a function which consists of many SQL statement and in the database system. Now advantage of store procedure are store procedure can be used a modular programming, which means create once, store and call for several times, means create once and use many. So here stored procedure is a kind of aid provided for the programmers to write a syntax once and use that several times. That support faster execution and it also reduce network traffic and provide better security to the data. Now disadvantages, the only disadvantage of store procedure is that can be executed only in the database and utilize more memory in the database server, so it is memory consuming. So this is the drawback of this. Now the view is a virtual table which consists of a subset of data contained in a table. Suppose you created a table and you want to check that table like field and records are inserted or updated correctly or not. So that can be done with the help of view. It is a kind of a virtual view or virtual table. Now what are view used for? It is used for restricting access to data, making complex query simple, ensuring data independence and providing different views of the same data. Now what are the local and global variables? So these variable can be used, local variable can be used or exist inside the function, and the global variable can be accessed throughout the program. Now auto increment is, what is auto increment in SQL? So auto increment keyword allow user to create a unique number to get generated whenever a new record is inserted. So this keyword is usually required whenever primary key is used. So whenever we are using primary key and auto increment SQL is generated. So here is the detail about that. Auto increment keyword can be used in Oracle and identity keyword can be used in SQL Server. Now the question we have from data warehouse. So what is data warehouse? That is also a concept about database. So it is quite bit differ from that, but we have to be much aware about this as well. So what is data warehouse? So data warehouse is a central repository of data where the data is assembled from multiple sources of information. Those data are consolidated, transferred, transformed and made available for mining as well as online processing. Warehouse data also have a subset of data called data marts. So basically data warehouse is a kind of a central repository of data storage where large amount of data is stored. So the best example is the data warehouse of Amazon or many big company, product based companies. So example is Amazon data warehouse, Amazon. So thank you guys, thanks for watching, and I hope this video is going to be helpful to you for your interviews and for your preparations. So thanks for watching and stay connected. Thank you.
So thanks for watching. Please support our channel, join and follow us.